Today we go low. We are doing a baritone comparison between Squier and a new model from Gretsch. Stay tuned. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
And I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like our videos. If you'd like to support the channel, visit our spring store for our custom designed t-shirts. We're just going to talk in a low baritone, chesty voice today.
How's it going, guys?
So we're talking baritones. And speaking in baritone, while we talk about baritones, baritones, if you don't know, are very cool guitars. They are not bass. They kind of fit that gap. I played baritone in high school. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Not on guitar.
Not a guitar.
Yeah, it's basically, I played euphonium. Everyone's like, what's that? I'm like, it's a small tuba.
I feel like the euphonium is the instrument of the music teacher.
It seems that way.
So many,
you want to know why?
Why?
Because, like, if you go to school and study euphonium.
Because they got great scholarships?
Well, there are great scholarships, but there's not a whole lot of classical music. You end up like having to also learn trombone. Or you want to play jazz, you have to also learn trombone, which I also learned. So yeah.
That's cool.
My band director also played baritone.
Yeah,
so
so did mine.
So, but baritone in guitars is different. Basically, longer scale length, lower tones, bridging the gap between guitar and bass. So these are both tuned down to
B. B to B.
For baritone.
B for baritone. So it's basically shifting upward, kind of, you know, B, E, A, D, F sharp, because you still have to preserve kind of the relationship that you usually have from a G to a B.
Right.
But it's D to F sharp and then ending with the B. But yeah, they, you know, I've been playing a lot more country music, and there's so much baritone guitar and classic country records that I think it's hard to capture with like an octave pedal or something. I mean, I have like a pitch shifting pedal. It doesn't track great. Nothing's really going to sound quite like this. I think, you know, a bass 6 might get closer.
Of course,
and
that's a different thing
it's
too.
a totally different thing.
Totally its own animal.
But like Chris said, I mean, it bridges the gap between a regular 6-string guitar and a bass, and it adds a whole kind of different timbre into the sound, which is pretty cool.
A lot of people think of it or describe it as like capoing down.
Yeah.
You know, we're used as guitar players to capoing, in which case we'll play the chords we're used to playing, but we're now in a different key. And usually that's done for vocal reasons, to put a song within the vocal range of the person performing. Now, if you have to put a capo up on the 5th fret, it completely changes the timbre of the instrument. And you can basically grab a baritone without a capo and you're effectively doing the same thing. So you're now in that same key, but much lower. It's a richer, fuller sound, a lot more kind of body to it when you play it like that.
Yeah, and you know, I think the fear on something like this, obviously it has to be a longer scale length because the strings are so thick, it would
just
get
be flopping
way
all
too
over the place.
floppy.
Yeah.
You'd sound like you're playing bass for Korn. You know that sound, the clicky? Yeah, I love that.
Just percussive.
But the strings are pretty heavy. The cool thing about both of these and most baritones is the pickups and the body and the scale length and everything, it still makes a clear sound. I feel like usually if you're trying to play chords on something with such heavy strings, it can get muddy and all that. But I think both of these capture a tight, very focused tone to where you can still make out all the notes. But these are both pretty different from each other in terms of construction and price range. Right. And obviously we had to check this one out because this is a new model. New model.
So I mean, obviously they're both baritones. You know what a baritone is now. Let's talk about what they are. This one was out first. We've covered this guy before, haven't we?
Yeah, we have, and
the
we
Paranormal.
Can't keep them in stock. We finally got more.
Because it's a huge value.
Yeah.
First of all, there's not a whole lot of baritone electric guitars that are out there. You know, it's actually more common to find a 7-string than it is a 6-string baritone. And they fill different needs.
Yeah, definitely.
And so to find one at a price point like this is really great. How much are these currently?
So right now these are $449.99, and I think that that's a really good value. We talked last week when we were filming. I don't know when the schedules are with these videos, but it should probably work out that they get released in the same kind of separation. About some of the new Squier stuff, Paranormal. It fills a lot of different specialty needs, which is really cool. And this being, I think, the biggest one people want a baritone, but some of those, like really nice ones, get pretty expensive, and it's almost like, do you want to, I think it was in the context of the Starcaster that we were talking about, this semi-hollow body guitar. A lot of people want that tone, but you know, ES335 is going to set you back a couple years and a couple paychecks. And so this, and you know, Squier allows us to add some different flavors into the arsenal with a pretty affordable kind of price point. You know?
Yeah, with great quality and in a package that is familiar. So this is a Tele body. It's a Cabronita, which is basically a Tele small pick guard, P90 style pickups. You know, it's a good combination. I've loved it when they've done this in the past. So taking this recipe, so to speak, and adapting it with the longer scale length, the different string spacing to bring to life a baritone version of it is fantastic. And you know, like we said, price point under $500. There's a few colors on this, isn't there? There's the Sunburst.
Yes, I know there's a black one as well, and I think there's one more. I don't want to get it wrong, but I know they do the Cabronita with the thin line as well, and that's got some kind of cool surf green. I think they went more traditional focus.
Was it blue? Is it a Lake Placid blue?
I think you might be right, yeah.
That's
but
why I get paid the medium-sized box right there.
I think the thing is with this, it's a Telecaster that signals country music. It's versatile, but it signals country music. The baritone, especially in the three-tone Sunburst, I think it's like the perfect kind of
pretty classic
country Swiss Army knife players guitar. But this one also kind of fits that vibe too.
It certainly does. Yeah, Gretsch is in the hands of a lot of country players and rockabilly and rock, and I've been noticing a lot of alternative guys playing them. And so this is a classic body shape that's, you know, really relatable too. It's a jet.
It's a jet, which we've talked about before with the Bigsby and the V stop tail. I think we referred to it as the most underrated single cut a while back.
I think so. Everyone associates this body shape, I bit my tongue, associates this body shape with a Les Paul.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. And the value that Gretsch is doing in their Electromatic and Streamliner line with these instruments is ridiculous. Some might say it's redonkulous. Like,
I've heard that one before.
Seriously. And so they came out with this, and I was like, I was smitten.
Yeah,
pretty fast. So.
I have wanted this Squier for quite a long time, and again, we haven't been able to keep them in. So we finally got these in right at the same time as these, so it was a no-brainer comparison. But now I'm like, would I want to spend $200 more, because this one is right now at $649, and I think that some of the elements of this make it compelling and justify the price increase.
Well, it's certainly, just on looks alone, it looks the part of being $200 more. You've got the nice crisp binding. The pick guard looks more upscale. I don't mind this pick guard, and it's very kind of classic. It's single ply, but something about single ply pick guards usually kind of look a little cheaper to me. The hardware is phenomenal on it. The block inlays, just everything on this guitar looks more
nice
upscale.
Headstock, you know.
Yeah, great classic headstock from it. This is the
G5260.
5260, yeah.
And it's part of the Electromatic line, and it does come in, I think, 5 colors. We got jade gray metallic. There's a really cool Imperial Stain one that's kind of like a dark walnut kind of vibe. But
now they do a Bigsby version, which we're still waiting on.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more because of the hardware.
Yeah.
And it comes in a very cool, is it Brooklyn Burst or something like that?
I'm not positive.
And it's awesome. It's basically like a brown or a black burst. That's really cool. You know, what Gretsch did a number of years ago with the Electromatic line fixed any concerns people had about the Electromatic line, and that was they used to have Electromatic real big on the headstock and basically said, I bought the cheaper Gretsch. And they got rid of that. They put it really small on the pick guard.
Yeah.
So if you want to, you could just remove the pick guard. But they're great instruments, honestly. It's kind of like, why would you be concerned at this point?
Yeah. So as you can probably tell, I'm sure that the camera may even be cutting off the headstock of this one. This one is quite
it's
noticeably taller. Yeah. So this is, I believe, 29.75.
That's 29.75. This is 27-inch scale length. So you have to have that longer scale length, like Cooper was saying, in order to keep the strings from flopping all over the place and allow you to tune these thicker gauge strings down to the proper frequency or note that you're reaching for, which is low B in this particular case. And so to do that, you've got to extend the scale length out. And just like in normal guitars, like a Strat versus a Jaguar or a Les Paul, the scale length changes the feel and the sound of it. It's going to do the same thing in this particular case.
Yeah, so playing them, another difference, that's 9.5 radius. This is a 12-inch radius.
Your typical Gretsch, flatter.
Yeah. So this being longer, flatter, I played this one first in the demos and then switching to this one. It was almost like, oh, this is way more
slinky?
Familiar.
Okay.
Way more familiar. But yes, slinky. So this is way slinkier, and it just feels closer to a normal Telly or a normal, Fender. And it's almost, maybe if you are going to be moving from a normal 6-string to a baritone, this would probably be more comfortable for you. Slinkier, bends way easier. On this, it almost feels closer to a bass, But I think that's kind of cool, and I do think that it informs the tone quite a bit. Something about it also, single coil pickups, humbucking pickups.
Yeah, single coil P90s, they're Alnico magnets.
Alnico, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, those are mini humbuckers.
Mini humbuckers.
So definitely a different tone you're going to get, both because of the construction. That's solid mahogany,
This
too.
is solid mahogany. That's poplar.
Yeah.
But I just noticed, first of all, this is way louder, which is interesting.
Huh.
We kept the volume on the amp the same, and I kept worrying on this one that I was blowing Josh's ears out over there.
I never worry about that.
We kept it cool. And it's just, these pickups are very, very hot. These, I think, are a little more balanced in terms of switching between them. There wasn't a huge volume change. But they both sound super sharp, and I really enjoy both of them.
Well, that's interesting notes. Let's take a listen to the demo and see what we hear. And we're back. Did you see what you heard or hear what you see? Anyways, so definitely different guitars, different approaches to the baritone idea.
Yeah.
So I pick up on something. Definitely, it's stiffer, like you were talking about. Bending a note on this is not as familiar or comfortable. That kind of feels very similar. And yet, there's a benefit to having this longer scale length. The tightness of the strings and the pickup combination is bringing a bit more balance and brightness to counter the low tuning.
Yeah, which I think you can really hear in the sound. On both of them, I opened up. So with the three-way switch, because they're both just normal three-way switches, I kind of switched up the style on each, going from the neck to both to the bridge, because I think that they, you can hear them placed in different types of music. But opening up with a big open E shape, but it would be a B major. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of clarity in both of them, which is kind of why I wanted to do that. See if it sounded muddy. Neck pickup,
which
first
is easy
position
to do.
chord.
Yeah.
But I think this one especially, it just was like this very clear, lots of note separation, and I really liked that. But it's easy to say like, oh, this one sounds better, plays differently, plays better. It's significantly more expensive, but
well, yeah, it's $200 more, which is almost half of the price of that one. Once again, but yeah, I think they fill different needs. They do different things. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about scale length, we kind of talked about this in the past with acoustic guitars. A shorter scale length kind of brings those harmonics closer together, and you tend to have a warmer sound. A longer scale length creates more tension, and it separates those harmonics. That tends to make a brighter sound, usually a little bit more articulate. Mm-hmm. When we're doing that with electric guitars, that's why no matter what pickups you put in a Tele, a Les Paul is going to sound warmer, have a bit more growl because of the scale length. It's also going to feel different. So you can do a lot of things to kind of do that. You start getting into compounding issues as you go to a lower tuning. Mm-hmm. And so that's why what's interesting about these is they're doing this approach for a very good reason. If you took those P90s and put it in here, it wouldn't sound like that guitar still. Yeah. Because of the scale length. And so it really comes down to which one would you go with. So Cooper, which one would you go with?
I want the Gretsch.
There we go.
I really like the Gretsch.
And that's interesting because you've been looking at that one actively.
So I think it's cool, especially if you have been in the market for one of these and you found it hard to get a hold of one. Now there's another option that is kind of a completely different beast. So it will behoove you to play both of them. Think about the sound that you want from a baritone, the genre that you're trying to go for, the look you're trying to go for, and would you rather have something that's a little bit easier to play, a little snappier, mm-hmm. or something that, like this to me, even though I know it was on a bass 6, makes me think of the intro to Wichita Lineman, Glenn Campbell, that ba-dum-bum-ba-dum. And I want that sound so bad, and I think that it can really be captured over here. There's another song, Small Town Saturday Night, Hal Ketchum, that's played on a baritone. I've used that pedal every time, my little pitch shifter.
And it's not quite there.
It's not quite there. And so this is much more, this was like filling a need. I want a baritone, and this is the sound that I've been thinking of.
Yeah.
So they're perfect for two different things. If you just want to add something really accessible baritone, I'd say go for this one. But if you want to jump in at a place that it's capturing more of what the baritone really should sound like and feel like, I think that one's a little bit closer.
Great options to have.
Very nice, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad this came out. I'm anxious to get the Bigsby. I'm very curious to how the low tuning responds with the Bigsby.
It sounds like a nightmare, but
we'll it could be very cool nightmare. So stick around for that video. You'll know it because you'll get notification if you're subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, like the videos. If you want information about either of these guitars, Cooper's going to tell you where to go.
Well, I'm going to say you got to go to alamomusic.com. And another reason to do so is because Gretsch often flies under a lot of people's radar, but they've announced a lot of really, really cool products this year.
Yeah.
Plus, continuing on a lot of things that we already really like by them.
Yeah, I love a lot of their new finishes that they're coming out with. A lot of the tweaks to models, changes to existing models, which we'll get into in future videos. I'm really wanting. I'll probably have a Gretsch within the next few months. I'm going to.
I think that
going to start dropping hints and slowly begging.
Yeah, I think they're poised for sort of a breakout this year because a lot of people are seeing supply issues. Gretsch is putting out and making available a lot of cool things that compete with things that people are searching for. And so we're going to do our best to really show you all the cool stuff because we're excited about it. And this is a really good example of something that is affordable. It's not crazy expensive.
And you know, people should know, like when we get excited, we're guitar nerds that work in a music store, so we see a lot, and it's actually kind of easy. I don't know if you feel this, to like just kind of go like, yeah, another guitar.
Another K24.
So when you get really excited about something, it's like, okay, this is cool. This is special. People take note. So
yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to show you some cool stuff, but it's all going to be on the website. Go to guitars, click on Gretsch, you'll see everything in there, and then come to the channel because we'll probably do a review on it.
There you go. So alamomusic.com, subscribe, like our videos, and remember at the end of the day, the best guitar in the world is the one tuned down to B so that you can talk in all the husky tones of a baritone. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.